Hi everybody, good morning and welcome to this very special edition of Accentuate by K3 Hub. My name is Marie Waithson and I'm a Managing Director here at Quantuma. And on behalf of our parent company, the K3 Capital Group, I'm also responsible for the K3 Hub. K3 Hub is a member network for professional advisors developed by us and other companies within the K3 Capital Group. Since we launched last year, over 2,000 like-minded members across the country have joined our network. And through the hub, you can access a range of CPD and training sessions, technical update webinars and masterclasses similar to today's event. And you can also receive referral fees for certain types of work referred into our group. I'm very pleased to be joined today by my one of our newest colleagues in the group. So Joe Edgewords from JE Consultancy even, will be running this 1 hour LinkedIn masterclass today using practical examples. She'll be sharing her tips on optimizing your LinkedIn profile, growing your network, creating engaging and relevant posts, and using LinkedIn to generate new clients. For those who don't already know Joe is the Managing Director of JE Consulting, which along with Quantuma is part of the K3 Capital Group. JE Consulting is an award-winning marketing agency which specialises in providing marketing services to professional services firms across the UK, size-wise both large and small. Joe leads a team of 23 specialists that enable firms to communicate more effectively, improving both the bottom line and the range of services that they can provide. They operate in a results-driven mode and focus on activities that will generate short, medium and long-term inquiries with new clients. We'll put up a slide at the end with Joe's contact details so that you can get in touch with her directly should you wish. Just before I hand over to Joe, a couple of housekeeping points if I can. Q&A is open, so do feel free to ask Joe questions as we go along. We're going to try and aim to cover the majority of these at the end. However, I might just jump in as we go if there's something pertinent that comes up that sort of we need Joe to sort of expand on as we're going. We'll get as many of those questions as we can answer today. However, as usual, if we run out of time, what I'll do is I'll get those remaining questions sent over to Joe with your contact details, and she'll come back to you directly after this webinar. Just another point here on recording. I'm often asked this question, so just to confirm, we are recording today's session, and this will be uploaded onto the K3 Hub website next week. Nothing more for me to say at the moment, other than we hope that you enjoyed this session. And Joe, over to you.
Great, thanks very much, Marie, and thanks to everybody who's joined this morning. I hope you find this useful. So just to give you a bit of background on what we're going to cover today, I'm going to share my screen. I've got some PowerPoint slides, but the majority of this session is very practical. So I'm going to be diving in and out of LinkedIn and back and forwards to a couple of slides. So bear with me while I'm sharing screen. But let's just have a look at the agenda to get us started today. So as Marie kindly said, these are the 4 areas that I want to cover today. For those of you that are very active on LinkedIn, I apologise in advance that some of the stuff that we'll cover initially might be a little bit basic for you, but we want to make sure that we accommodate the people who are not particularly active on LinkedIn at the moment. So we're going to look at how to optimise your personal profile to start things off. I'm then going to look at how to grow your network on LinkedIn. And I'm a big fan of LinkedIn, and I'm a big fan because I can categorically say that I've won business as a result of being active on LinkedIn. There are ways and means of doing that. I spend probably half an hour to an hour in any given week in LinkedIn, whether it's on my phone app or on my desktop. But that's all it needs really to be able to do what I need to do in terms of generating leads. And what I'll do today is, using my profile, show you how I do that effectively. So we'll look at growing your network. We'll look at how to create relevant and engaging posts, and we'll also come on to looking at more specific actions that you can take on LinkedIn to target new business. So this is all geared around professional firms. Try to give as much of the content as possible as to how you would reach out to your target audience, whether that be SMEs or whether that's individuals. and hopefully we'll give you some good tips to be able to leave with. Okay, so let's get started on point 1, which is optimizing your personal profile. So at this point, I'm going to dive into my LinkedIn. Hopefully you can all see that okay. All right. So at the moment, I'm on my homepage of LinkedIn, and it's a useful tool. There are lots of things that you can do on the homepage of LinkedIn. You can obviously have a look at posts that are coming through in your news feed. You can go and have a look at who's been viewing your page. It will often pop up with useful information if any of your connections have got interesting news to post. So it's a useful place to spend time. But what we're going to do at this point is go into my profile and look at how to optimize that. Okay, so let's start off with a couple of things. The first thing I always recommend to any of our clients using LinkedIn is the first thing to remember with LinkedIn is to protect yourself from your competition. There are a number of things that LinkedIn does automatically, which you may or may not want on your profile. If you can see here, we've got this people also viewed option. And what LinkedIn is doing here is recognizing the business that I'm in from the keywords that I've got in my profile. And it's making suggestions to anybody who visits my profile page that they may also want to have a look at these profiles. That's not always a good thing, because those people also viewed could be your competition. It may be other accountancy professionals, legal professionals that are popping up on here. And I don't particularly want to spend time driving traffic to my LinkedIn profile only to find that they've got the option here to view my competition. So I want to disable that. The other thing that I'm always very careful of is connections. So again, I've spent time building up my my connections on LinkedIn. My rule of thumb is to be a connection, you have to be a client, a prospective client, or an introducer of work. So if you don't fit those categories, then you don't get to connect in the first with me. So I take probably a bit more of a ruthless approach because I want to use LinkedIn as a marketing tool. But obviously anybody that's connected to me in the first or second can, at the moment, quite happily go and see all of the people that I'm connected to. So you have to make a judgment call here as to whether you want that or not. If you're connecting to clients and potential clients and referrers, do you want them to see all of that database? Maybe you do, maybe you don't, but there are ways of protecting yourself here. So if you go to this option here, which is the Me option, and use this drop-down tool, you've got a tool here that says settings and privacy. So let's just look at how we can switch these things on and off. So I'll go to visibility first of all. And this gives me the option here to stop people looking at my connections. So if I want to change that, I'll click on change, move that to no. It's saved it away. So now my connections aren't visible to anybody. Okay. While I'm here, a lot of people ask me how to go and look at profiles anonymously. If you want to do a bit of recruiting or a bit of competitive research, this profile viewing options allows you to go incognito. So at the moment, if I'm visiting other LinkedIn profiles, I've got it switched that they can see that it's me that's landed on their page. If you don't want that, you can, click there, private mode. And anybody who's then looking at who's looked at their profile will only see you as an anonymous LinkedIn member. And that is quite useful if you're using LinkedIn for, as I say, recruitment processes, or you're using LinkedIn to do a bit of competitive research. I'm going to leave that switched on at the moment. The other thing is account preferences. So that tool that you saw at the beginning, which is the people also viewed option. You can change that and switch that off. So now that's saved, and when people start going into your profile, LinkedIn won't encourage them to go and look at other relevant profiles, which, as I mentioned earlier, could be your competition. Okay, so we'll go back to LinkedIn and back into my profile. Okay, so you can see immediately that people also viewed has been switched off. Okay, so let's just take the profile page step by step. So this section here, which is the kind of your initial first impression. This section here allows you to put up an image banner. Okay, so everywhere that you see the pencil, obviously that you can edit your profile. I would always recommend that you get your web people or your graphic designer to create an image banner here that is representative of the company that you're working for, company that you're representing. It gives them a web address to link to, and you can also use this space to sort of clearly say what you do. So for example, if we're working with you know, a specialist corporate tax advisor, or we're working with a solicitor that specialises in family law, whatever that might be, I would make sure that that banner is adapted very specifically for them, so that it clearly identifies their areas of expertise. Always make sure that you've got a professional photo. You know, LinkedIn is a professional networking environment. So we want to make sure we've got a nice professional photo in here. The amount of profiles I've seen with children on shoulders or beachwear, yeah, not appropriate for LinkedIn, so get a professional photo done. Okay, just moving down here. So this particular set of content here underneath my name is identified on LinkedIn as your job title. The interesting thing here, though, is LinkedIn has millions and millions of pages of content, which makes it extremely attractive to the Google search engine. And what I found is if you change the job title narrative to be an explainer of your area of expertise, this seems to be the key field that Google likes to cache when it's trawling across LinkedIn and looking for relevant content. So if you want to be found on Google, or your LinkedIn profile to be found on Google searches, this is the field to change. So you could change that to, you know, corporate tax expert based in London, or, you know, head of private clients specialising in wills and probate in Gloucestershire, whatever that might be. So if you've got regional reach, you're looking for a particular area, put that into that job title there, but also use it as a way of describing what you do rather than just your job title. I've also found that putting your website URL at the beginning of there helps in LinkedIn searches. Don't ask me why. It was somebody that gave me this tip. I put my website in, and it does make a big difference to people finding experts on LinkedIn. So if somebody's looking, your web address makes a big difference. Okay, so let's just move a little bit further down the page, and I'm now going to go to the About section. Now, LinkedIn's changed over the years, and I remember when I was sort of working on LinkedIn 3 or 4 years ago, this section here had lots and lots of fields to complete, and it used to end up being almost an online CV. That's changed now, and you have got text limits on here, and this I've found is the best way to lay out your About Us section. You want to keep it, you know, short, punchy sentences. Let people see very quickly who you are, what it is that you do, and list your specialisms. So as you can see here, I've got again my web address at the top. I'm using the first line here just to explain who I am and what I do. Small paragraph here that gives a little bit more information. And then I've used this section here to highlight my specialties. So again, from your own point of view, that could be singular bullet points about the type of work that you do, or the type of companies that you act for. So the idea here is to keep this really short, really punchy, get to the point very quickly, and finish that section with an invite to get in touch. So get in touch with a direct message, visit the website, make it clear if you're able to offer free consultation or so on, that you've got that in your call to action. Okay, and then moving a little bit further down to this section here, which is the featured section. I would always recommend that you use this to profile your marketing collateral. So if you've been published, put your press cuttings in here. If you've got brochures or flyers or videos or fact sheets, anything that relates to either what you do or what your business does, put those PDFs, put those videos, put those JPEG files in here. And just make it a very useful resource for any visitors to your page to grab that marketing collateral from you, and try and keep it updated. So if if you're published again, update that section. Remember, if your brochures get updated, make sure you go and update your LinkedIn page as well. And then I'm just going to skip a little bit further down the page to come to this section here, which is recommendations. So I would always look to have at least 10 recommendations on here. I would always go for quality over volume. And the way to get recommendations is to ask for them on LinkedIn. So you can only ask somebody that's connected to you in the first to give you a recommendation. You do it through LinkedIn, so it allows you through a tool here to go and ask your contacts to give you a recommendation. If they do that, it comes back into your message box. You've got a chance to validate it before you actually upload it to your LinkedIn profile. But as I say, try and go for quality over quantity. Get some new ones each year, add 1 or 2 every 12 months, every 6 months, if you've got time to do that, and just keep that as an ongoing process. Because these are the key bits that people will look at when they get to your profile. Yeah. So the about us section, have you got any featured information that I should be aware of, and who's talking about you? So your proof statements. What I also do is, if I've been given recommendations like this on LinkedIn, I'll go and ask the client if I can use those recommendations on our website. It might be a platform for me to encourage them to go and give us a Google review at the same time. So get in the habit of asking for them on a regular basis. Okay, so those are the key points on optimizing your profile. I just very quickly recap. Protect yourself from the competition. So do you want them to see your connections? Do you want people to look at who else people have viewed? And if you need to go in incognito, keep the about section short and punchy. Make sure you've got your marketing collateral featured here. And most importantly, keep an eye on your recommendations and ask for more. Right, I'm going to stay in LinkedIn because we'll move on here to look at how you grow your network on LinkedIn. Now, there are a number of ways of doing this, so I'm going to cover 3 or 4 of those, and we'll just go to this section here, which is my network. Now, you'll hopefully be familiar with this. If there's any outstanding invitations to connect, they'll be here. So, for example, Matthew Davis invited me to Follins Wilson Solicitors. Yeah, I'll happily do that. So I'll accept that one. Walters Kluwer, good referrer to me. Yeah, happy to accept that one. So I'm just going through my rule of thumb here. You be a client, a potential client, or referrer of work to connect on LinkedIn. Right, so that's one way of building your network. Yeah, is invite people and manage the invitations that you're getting yourself. The second way is to think, well, I've got lots and lots of contacts on Outlook. So, generally people will contact me by email. Do I want to save myself a bit of time here and upload all of my contacts from Outlook into LinkedIn? The answer to that is probably not, because Outlook will have masses of emails in there that may or may not fit that three-pronged criteria that you have. However, that wouldn't stop me going and using Outlook as a tool to do that. So what you can do on LinkedIn in this section here, which is adding personal content, is just click more options, and I can either just click Outlook, which I don't think is a particularly good idea, or I can use this tool here, which is upload a file. So what I would recommend that you do here is that if you're using Outlook or Mac Mail, etc., for whatever it is for your email system, is go and export all of your contacts out of that email system onto a CSV file or a spreadsheet and clean it up before you import it into LinkedIn. So you end up with a nice clean CSV or Excel file, and then use this tool here, which is upload a file. And what that will do is you go and choose the file that you want, which will be your Excel spreadsheet, and it will then automatically send connection messages to everybody that's got an email on that spreadsheet. Yeah, so it saves you a whole raft of time in building up a network very quickly. So if you're new to LinkedIn or you haven't spent a lot of time on LinkedIn, that's a really nice, quick, easy way to be able to get some connections straight away. So that's the second option. I'm just going back to my profile. The third option in growing your network is to actually go and search for targets. So the way I would do this, and the way that I recommend to our clients, is to see LinkedIn as a really data-rich target database for you. And I'm just going to put my feet in the shoes of an accountant for a moment and say, well, if I was looking to create new connections, which are potential clients for me, how do I now use LinkedIn as a database tool for doing that? So I'm going to make a couple of assumptions here. First thing is, as an accountant, I probably want to target the managing director of the SME world. So let's start there. Put some quote marks around your search, and I'm going to look for job titles now. Yeah. And just click on managing director, and I'm going to look for people. Okay, so my search results at the moment are giving me a huge number of managing directors. So LinkedIn is a global product. I haven't honed this down in any way, shape or form. So it's bringing me millions and millions of people that I could potentially target, which isn't going to be easy to manage. So what we can do now is start filtering that down. So the first thing I would do now is just say, well, I only want people that I'm connected to in the second and the third, because I've already connected to them in the first. I don't need to reconnect to them. And that's probably not going to hone it down a great deal. Yeah, still got the same numbers. So it's recognized first, exclusions. What I'm now going to do is say, right, I want to hone that down to a location. Yeah, so I could sit here and choose London, England, United Kingdom, whatever my geographical fix is like to be. I could choose Birmingham. And now show the results. Okay, so what we're getting down to now is, I'm not going to say this is a manageable number because it's still a huge number. So we're down to 6,900 managing directors in Birmingham that I've got a second or third connection with, which enables me to be able to ask them to connect with me. And just to clarify, I'm using the free version of LinkedIn here. I'm not on premium. Yeah, so everything that I'm showing you today is all based on the free version. Okay, so I'm now down to managing directors in Birmingham. So do I want to filter that even further? Well, quite possibly I do. And it may be now that I want to start to look at different types of industry sectors. So if I specialise, for example, in construction or property or marketing and advertising or automotive, I can break it down even further at this point. If they're not listed there, I can go and add an industry. Yeah. So whatever that industry might be, you can hone it down here. So if I just pick construction at this point and show the results, right, I'm now getting down again to what is becoming a manageable number. So I've now got 621 managing directors of construction-based companies based in Birmingham. Yeah. And at this point, on the free version of LinkedIn, I can start asking them to connect. Now, sadly, on the free version, I can't do that in bulk. I've got to go through each one individually and ask them to connect with me. If I'm using the premium version, that will allow me to bulk connect. Yeah. So if you have a BD role within your firm, then premium's probably a good idea. And then you can go one step further with Navigator, which is a whole new ball game in terms of how you use it for target account management. But as you can see, it's a really nice way of building up a database of potential clients very quickly. Okay. Now, if you're using the free version and you start to connect, just hitting the connect button and using the standard LinkedIn "I'd like to connect with you" message isn't a particularly good idea, mainly because they're not going to know who you are. Are they going to accept your connection without some kind of personal message? Probably not. So what I would suggest is, I'm going to just jump out of here and share my slide again. This is the message that I use when I'm connecting to somebody who doesn't know me. It's a very simple message, but it seems to work. Okay, so I'll just give you a couple of minutes to read that. This is being recorded, so this message will be on the recording if you want to go back to it. Okay, and that works. That simple message, it's a little bit more personal, but it allows you to build up those connections. So I'm just going to go back to LinkedIn again. Here we go. Okay. Now, the fourth way of growing your network is to piggyback your competition. So what do I mean by that? Well, let me just go back to my home page. So, for example, if I'm going to assume now I'm in the shoes of a legal firm, and I'm going to assume that one of my competitors is this firm here. So let's just jump onto their profile. Okay. Now, Palmer's one of my clients, so hopefully they won't mind me trampling all over their LinkedIn page today to get my point across. So I'm now on Palmer's website. So what I want to look at here is the various connections, which are the partners, managers, etc., working here. And I'm going to jump onto Ricky's profile. Okay, so Ricky's got a fair number of followers here. And in terms of piggybacking on your competition, if I now go and look at all of Ricky's posts, what I'm now going to do is say, well, who's liked Ricky's posts here? Who's yeah. And what you'll find on piggybacking off your competition is potentially clients, referrers, potential clients sitting in there. And if you've got a second or third connection with them, then it allows, obviously in LinkedIn, you can go and connect with them. So that's piggybacking off the clients, potential clients and referrers of your competition. And that's the fourth way in which you can grow your network. Okay. So what I'm looking at here is an individual's recent posts and activity, who's liked, who's commented on them, and if I feel they're relevant, then I'm going to go and connect with them. Okay, so just back to my slides again, just to emphasize a point here. If you get into a daily routine on LinkedIn, and the easiest way to get onto a daily routine on LinkedIn is to have the app on your phone, because if you're waiting for a meeting to start, waiting for a webinar to start, that's a few minutes for me on LinkedIn to go and try and achieve these targets. But connecting with 50 targets a day takes me about 10 minutes using one of those tools to do it. So I may have an export from Outlook and pick up my last month's new emails from Outlook. I might be doing a bit of piggybacking. I might be doing a bit of niche sector databasing. So whatever it is I'm doing, that's what I'm looking to achieve. And using that message that I've just shown you, you can expect to get somewhere between a 40 and a 70% acceptance rate. So, you know, 4 to 700 new connections every month is a nice, quick way of building that up, and you just keep going. Yeah. I've also got something called the Daily Magic 10, which I'll go back into LinkedIn to explain what I mean here. But I try to get into a discipline every day of going through my news feed and doing 3 comments, 3 likes, 3 shares, and if possible, 1 post or at least 1 new connection. Yeah, by inviting somebody directly that I've met that week or met that day. And then also using the notifications tool to be able to achieve that magic 10. So let me just go back into LinkedIn so that I can just explain that a little bit more. Okay, and I'm just going to go back to my homepage. So by way of example, the news feed on the homepage is a great way of achieving the magic 10 very, very quickly. And this I tend to do on my phone. So what I'm looking at here is, are there any clients, are there any potential clients, or are there any referrers of work who are posting on my news feed? And I'm going to go and comment, like, or share their post. Yeah. So let's have a whiz through. I'll ignore the promoted ones. So lots of people at Accountex, he's a referrer of work. Let's go and like his post. Obviously he'll get to see that. This is a client, so I'm going to like that post. Yeah, potential client, go and like that post. So of course, doing the liking, the sharing, the commenting, and putting your own content on there keeps your name and into their news feed at the same time. But I see this as a PR exercise of making sure that on a very regular basis, I'm putting myself on the radar of potential new work for me by just liking and sharing their posts. Yeah. And the other tool that I do use, which I mentioned a minute ago, is the notifications option. So this is picking up where people have had a birthday or a work anniversary and I might want to go and congratulate them. But the most useful element of the notifications is where people have changed jobs, moved firms. Yeah. And what I want to do is make sure that I'm aware that they've gone on to a new firm, and could that new firm be a potential client for me? So go and congratulate people on a new role in a new business. And this is where you'll find that information. The other important thing with LinkedIn is adding to your discipline of looking at who you've met during the week and making an effort to go and connect with them on LinkedIn, and having a think about who you're potentially meeting the following week, and doing your homework on those individuals and connecting with them pre-meeting. Right, part 3 is looking at creating engaging posts and content on LinkedIn. So if you're part of a professional firm, I'm going to assume that your firm has some active social media activity. So the easiest way, obviously, to achieve that on LinkedIn is to go and share the content that your firm's already putting out. Yeah. So make sure that if there's blogs, posts, etc., going up on your business LinkedIn page, that as many individuals as possible share that content. So that's an easy way to amplify your firm's content immediately. I know some firms have a 3-line whip on this, that you have to go and share the content every day, because it's the only way that you'll engage more followers. Okay. I'm just going to jump back to the slides for a moment, just to give you some examples. And I think a couple of rule of thumbs here: with any content that you're putting out there, you've got 2 things that you want to achieve. That's gain attention and be memorable. Yeah. So put your content into 3 different categories. The first one is teach and educate. The second one is proof statements. And the third one is all about making it personal. So I'll explain what those are. And these are the 3 categories that you should be looking at posting on a regular basis. So teach and educate is all about sharing best practice, snippets of your wisdom. And this can be the blogs potentially that your firm's putting out. It could be a new fact sheet that you've created. It could be something that's appeared in the news that day that is very specific to your area of expertise, that you've got an opinion on, that you've got a voice on, and go and share that on LinkedIn. So best practice, snippets of wisdom. I think everybody will already be onto this if you're using LinkedIn, but a visual is always better than text. Yeah, so try and put, if it's not a static image, maybe even a very short 30-second video explaining what it was that you've got an opinion on in the news, for example, that morning, or a moving GIF image, because that's more likely to achieve the objective of gaining the attention. If you're doing this yourself, so there isn't a marketing team to back you up here, there are tools out there like canva.com, loads and loads of images that are all royalty free. You can go and put your own logo on them and then use them on your LinkedIn posts. So that's a nice free tool to be able to use to do that. Powtoon is another online tool. There's a free version and a paid for version, but that allows you to create some really nice animations. And then Giphy.com allows you to have some movement in your images. So if you go and choose 3 or 4 images off Canva, for example, and drop them into Giphy, you can have them rotating on a carousel on your post. So lots of really good tools out there that allow you to have nice visuals on LinkedIn rather than just text. So keep the text to a minimum, keep the visual to the max, and always make sure in your posts that you tag in relevant individuals, tag in relevant businesses, tag in links, but always have a call to action. You know, there should be something in there that says, if this subject is something that you'd like to talk to me about, this is how you get in touch with me. Yeah, so you want a DM in there or a link to a landing page. So, for example, on this one here, there's a link through to the blog to be able to read more, which will take them through to this firm's website. So we're creating more website traffic by doing that. Proof statements, this is the second category. So this is things like case studies, testimonials from your clients. It could be milestones that your firm has achieved. So for example, I would always put up you know, exam passes into this category, or if we've achieved Legal 500 or Chambers, or a ranking on, if it's an accountant, on the 50+50, whatever those things might be, or it's your 20th anniversary. Those kind of really nice proof statements will always get better traction on LinkedIn than your teach and educate content. Yeah. So the more proof you can put on there, the more likely that is to get shared. And then the third aspect is, when I say make it personal, this is about your team, or it's about your CSR activity. So if you have, you know, sponsorships going on or promotions, or you want to highlight members of your team, this firm here, for example, highlighting their newest intake of trainees. Another firm here who have an employee of the month, team player of the month, so they highlight that on LinkedIn. That what I call personal content will get even better traction than the case studies, and even better traction than the teach and educate. Yeah. So if you've got good CSR activity going on, or profiling your team members, get it out on LinkedIn. And then there are engagement boosters to think about. So I've already highlighted this on optimizing your profile, but if you're putting text out there, make it easy to read, short, punchy sentences, yeah, or short paragraphs. There's a better time of day to post on LinkedIn than not. So best or peak times on LinkedIn are Monday to Friday, between 9:30 and 10, or between 5:30 and 6. Yeah, so that's when you'll get peak viewing traffic on LinkedIn. I've mentioned visual already. If you are using tools like Canva or Powtoon, you can add lots of colour. So go off brand a bit with your posts. If your corporate brand is burgundy and grey or blue and white, you need to make your post stand out a bit more. So don't be afraid to use orange and purple and green, and get a bit of visual colour in there on your personal post. You can go off brand a bit when it's not the company page. And then finally, hashtags. LinkedIn is very picky about hashtags, and what I've found is that if you use more than 3 hashtags in a post on LinkedIn, it falls down the ranking on the searches within LinkedIn. So its maximum hashtag number is, I've discovered, is 3. So try and include 3 hashtags, relevant hashtags. I tend to have 9 hashtags that I use on rotation, so I'll pick 3 from my core 9 when I'm posting content, if that content hasn't got something specific that I want a hashtag to link to. Okay, I want to just move back into LinkedIn to talk about leveraging your centres of influence. So I've given you hopefully some good ideas and tips on generating new clients through LinkedIn, but there are other ways of networking and engaging with potential clients on LinkedIn, which is called centres of influence. So let me just go back into LinkedIn. I'm going to go to my homepage. Okay, so a centre of influence is usually a publication or a professional body whose audience is your target market. So if you are into property, for example, then your target market might be the National Landlords Association, or there's another one, there's the Association of Landlords as well. If your target market is in the construction sector, then there's the Federation of Master Builders. If your target market is small businesses, then there's a Federation of Small Businesses. So there are lots of professional bodies that will support the sectors that you want to target, and they're what I would call your centres of influence. The other centres of influence are the publications. So most industry sectors will have publications that support them. So obviously Tolley's and LexisNexis are supporting the tax world. You've got the Law Society obviously supporting legal. You've got the ICAW supporting accountants. So those centres of influence are useful to piggyback on. So again, by way of example, if I'm targeting small businesses, I'm just going to go to the Federation of Small Businesses here and go onto their page. What I want to look at here is exactly what I did with the competition. I'm going to go to their posts, yeah, and I'm going to start looking at who's liking, commenting and sharing their content, because the chances are it's members, and those members might be people that I want to engage with. Okay, so think about your niche sectors, think about the centres of influence that support them, and try and do some piggyback connections off the back of those centres. The other thing to bear in mind with centres of influence is that you can put your own views and opinions on here. So if you're following these pages and something pops up and you think, actually, I've got a view on that, which would be useful to members, go and post on there. If you have seen something and think, well, actually, I'd like all the members to know that I like this as well, yeah, click on the like, because they'll be looking at who's liked it, and certainly the person that's posted, I can guarantee we're going to have a look at who's liked it. So leverage those centers of influence wherever possible as part of your BD work. The final thing is advertising on LinkedIn. As with all social media platforms, LinkedIn has the ability to advertise, and you advertise using this tool here. So you need to go and set yourself up as a campaign manager, and I'm just going to go into a campaign here just to give you a very quick overview of how this works. Now, again, bear in mind from the filtering that we did earlier, LinkedIn is a great hunting ground for professional firms to be able to target all sorts of companies and all sorts of individuals. Advertising is a tool within your armory to be able to do that. I would always say that organic connections will outweigh advertising by a mile. I'd spend more time on organic connections than I would on advertising. But in our times at the moment, getting seen and getting found, then add advertising into the marketing mix. And it's really easy to create an advertising campaign on LinkedIn. I mean, you literally, once you've got your campaign manager set up, you go in and start creating campaigns. You can use video, you can use carousel images, but most importantly, you can be very clever about how you choose your audience. So, for example, if I wanted to get started on advertising here and I say, well, actually, what I want to achieve is website visits or lead generation, I can pick my conversion, if you like. I'll choose website visits here. LinkedIn will now start let me choosing the audience that I want. So I've got the ability here to move out of the United Kingdom. I can pick back on Birmingham, I can pick construction sector, and I can make sure that my advert only appears on the profiles of managing directors of construction companies. Yeah. So great way to do it. You can set budgets. So you can have a start and an end day on your campaign. You can set a daily budget so that it doesn't run away with your credit card. Your ad will disappear and then reappear the next day if your budget's run out. So you've got full control over what appears, how it appears, and on whose profile that appears. And you get all of the data back. So you can see, for example, you know, literally within a few days of running a particular campaign, how many clicks you've had to your website, how many have converted, so have they used the call to action on the advert and actually made contact with you. You can link it through to your Google Analytics so that you can see if they've filled in a contact form. So it's clever data, and I would recommend this as part of the marketing mix along with potentially Facebook advertising as a great way of reaching your potential audience. And we have some great results with legal firms on LinkedIn and Facebook targeting specific services, more so on Facebook with the private client and family services. LinkedIn we tend to use for corporate. Accountants, great for niche marketing. So if you've got a particular sector or service that you want to promote, then I would recommend LinkedIn advertising as part of that mix. Okay. I think and I hope that I've covered all 4 points on our agenda. I hope that you've picked up something useful from some of the points that we've gone through today. I can see we've got a few questions, Marie, so I've hopefully allowed enough time for us to pick up on a couple of those.
Indeed you have, Jo. Thank you very much for that. That was brilliant. I learned a lot. Good. I should be going away to implement some of those things shortly. I do have about 4 or 5 questions for you, so I'll make a start on those if I can. So Leah's asked, he's moved into different industries over a period of time, and has wondered if he should streamline his LinkedIn connections so that they are sort of more specific to the industry that he's working in currently.
I always think it's a good idea to do regular housekeeping on LinkedIn. You know, I do get asked if I need to housekeep and I need to remove connections, for example, because they're no longer relevant or they've become competition. Can I do that? And the answer is yes, you can. You go into your database on LinkedIn and you use the remove connection message. They don't get dissed, they don't get a message saying that you've just disconnected from them, so don't worry about that. But I think regular housekeeping is important, and regular housekeeping relevant to the position that you're in at the moment is extremely important, because otherwise it gets very muddled in the message that you're trying to put out there. So in a nutshell, I think yes, housekeep your LinkedIn profile on a regular basis, keep it up to date. If you need to remove connections because they're not relevant, or keep the career history at the top of the page, then do that.
Thanks very much for that. On a related note, Helen's asked, you just touched on removing connections. I wonder whether, Helen's asked, how do you actually sort of do that in LinkedIn? Are you able to just give us a quick demo of that?
Yeah, I can. So let me just go back. I'm very sorry, I've gone into the campaign manager. Just bear with me 1 minute. But yes, I can show you. So just going to LinkedIn. So if you go into my network and you go into your connections. So if I wanted to remove Phil, I just go to these 3 buttons here and click remove connection, and they're gone. But as I say, they don't get a message telling them that I've got rid of them.
Great, thank you, Jo. A couple of questions. You touched earlier on the premium version of LinkedIn, the Sales Navigator. I've got a couple of questions coming on those. So John, in the first instance, has asked, any views on Sales Navigator?
Yeah, so if you've got a specific target account management or BD role, I'd recommend Sales Navigator. You have to be prepared with Sales Navigator that you've got to put a bit of time and effort into using it and making the most of it, because it's not cheap. Yeah, but what it does is allows you to identify key targets. It flags up essentially when there's been activity on their page, their account. It allows you to dive in at that point and congratulate them or engage with them at that point. So I would say don't take it lightly, because if you're going to use it, then you need to be using it really as a really good sales tool. But for anybody with a BD role, I would recommend it. And similarly for premium, I don't want to bombard, people who don't know me with meaningless messages, but I often want to connect with people that are very relevant, because I've got something really relevant to tell them, and I can't do it without the premium version.
Very good. So you've just talked about the premium version there. Carl has asked, what is the difference between the free and premium version?
Well, there are lots of different options, but I think the main one is the ability to connect to somebody that isn't already connected to you in the first or in the second or third, and the ability to bulk import, the ability to bulk message. So if, for example, when I showed you that filter earlier on about the construction companies in Birmingham, on the free version, I've got to go and do everyone individually, whereas on the premium version, I don't have to do that. I can connect with them all automatically, and I can message them directly as well, which I wouldn't be able to do on the free version. You do have the ability with premium as well to use InMail, which is almost like direct email to LinkedIn prospects, but you have to buy credits for that on top of your premium subscription.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Final question for you then, in that case, is coming from Caroline. She's asked, is it better to post or share content that the firm has produced on personal LinkedIn profiles?
Okay, post without question. So if you've only got time to share, that's better than nothing. If you've got time to actually go and do it as a post, you're more likely to get traction on it and engagement on it, and it's more likely to get read because it will show up in your connections newsfeed.
Brilliant. Thanks very much for that, Jo. A very quick thanks from me, Jo. That was a brilliant session. Just to wrap up then, everybody, Jo and the team at JE Consulting offer a range of services. Core skill sets include web design, digital marketing, SEO, scripting for videos and podcasts, market research, events management, and graphic design. You can visit JE's website to find out more. It's je-consulting.co.uk. And if you or your firm have any marketing requirements which you need specialist support for, it goes without saying that Jo would be absolutely delighted to hear from you. I'm afraid that's all that we've got time for today. So if you'd like to get in touch with Jo, I think her contact details are going to be displayed on the screen. There we go. I think that's all that's left for me to say then is thank you very much to Jo. And most importantly, thank you to so many of you for joining us today. Happy Friday and have a great weekend.